Hey guys, welcome to the Talk Android podcast. This is episode 4. I'm Jared and I'm here with Erik.
How's it going?
And you may notice that this is episode 4 and not episode 3. We didn't skip episode 3, but we recorded it and had some behind the scenes issues come up that prevented us from uploading it. So Erik and I, we're gonna retackle that podcast. We're gonna do it all over again because we love doing it so much.
And I'm here, so it's going to be that much better.
Right. All right. So the big thing we wanted to talk about today are Android launchers. Microsoft dropped an update for their Microsoft launcher, which used to be Aero launcher. It brought in some like Microsoft service integration, some new stuff with Cortana, that kind of thing. And man, that got a ton of traction on social media, which really kind of surprised me because I didn't think people liked Microsoft. But it was a big deal.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of traction, surprisingly.
So what do you use for your launcher on your phone right now?
Right now, it's funny. I'm actually using the LG G7, and everyone hates LG software, but I kind of like it. I'm using without the app drawer, just straight LG launcher, and I'm digging it. So usually I would put Nova Launcher on it, but I've been running with LG software right now. So
see, LG software to me, it's always kind of felt like it was designed by a child with some crayons. Like
a little bit.
The features are great, but the actual like big blocky designs, oh man, I can't get into it.
I know it's the way I set my phones up. They all just sort of look the same, regardless of what launcher I'm using. I just kind of do the same thing with a little different. Like you don't see an arrow to launch your app drawer. It doesn't have a little grid to launch your app drawer, but otherwise it looks pretty much the same. I have a Motorola G6 that I just reviewed, and it almost looks exactly the same. So I'm pretty simple with my setup, so it almost doesn't really matter.
So you're not big on like the icon packs and the crazy widgets and that kind of stuff?
I used to be, but now at this point, I have like a handful of widgets that I just kind of default to, and I don't need an icon pack for them. And I guess I'm getting boring in my old age.
Right. No, that was actually something that I brought up the last time that we talked about this. I think you're always going to have the people that are just really, really into customizing their phones, and that's a big deal with Android, obviously. But newer launchers support icon packs. Newer launchers are a lot more customizable. Android does not look terrible right out of the box anymore. So I kind of think moving into the apps we have right now, it doesn't completely eliminate all that custom stuff, but I think it really decreases the need for it.
Right. I mean, there's so much you can do, though. I mean, I see the appeal. You can just completely change your phone every week if you wanted to. There's just so much out there.
Right, but I feel like the reason why that used to be such a big deal is because like Android 2.0 right out of the box looked terrible.
Yeah, I mean, if you go way back, sure. And I remember like HTC, one of their big selling points was Sense. You know, when you go all the way back to like the original Motorola Droid, and just how plain and difficult everything was. And you have Sense come out, and it was just such polish over Android. I remember just.
Oh, I love my Droid Incredible.
Yeah, the Droid, like you look at the Droid Incredible and you look at the Motorola Droid and you look at the software and the just the user interface, just how much better the Incredible was. And so, you know, if you go back, back in time a little bit, launchers were, you almost had to have a launcher because it was just so bad. But I think, like you said, these days, especially so many things are either running stock Android or near stock Android, like Motorola is near stock Android.
Right.
You're so close to what people want now. It's almost, if you want to tinker, get a launcher, but you just almost, like you said, you don't really need one anymore.
Right. Yeah. Which, I mean, if anything, that's probably a good sign that Android is finally at that mature point where you can just buy the phone and be happy with it.
Yeah. No question. Like I can't imagine buying like a Pixel 2 and then putting a launcher on it.
Right. Yeah, because you lose all the googly integration and all the specific stuff that Google set up for it.
Exactly.
I mean, how's the G7 on that? Does like the launcher there have any cool stuff that's just integrated in?
A couple things. Not really. It's not really different from like the G6. I don't mind the look, and most of my apps are third-party apps, so it's not like I'm being forced to look at LG stuff.
Right.
I don't like their dialer app. I don't or their dialer icon. I don't like their camera icon, but that's about all that's staring at me. But for the most part, I sort of, like I said, I kind of customize everything the same. So I could get Nova Launcher. I could put I could put Microsoft's launcher on there, and I'm sure it'd be cool. But it's more effort than I'm willing to put in because I'm just not. I just don't have a problem with it.
Right. Now, does the G7 let you like customize the icons for the different apps?
It does. I believe it's got its own little, kind of like Samsung. It's got its own little thing going where you can go to like a little third-party store and get different themes and different icon packs, and then you can go to the Play Store and get icon packs for their themes. I think there's a lot you can do with it. So I think it's similar to Samsung. I haven't really dug into it, but I'm pretty sure it's there.
Yeah. And that I think I remember the S6 is what launched that theme store. I
Yeah.
remember that was really really cool at the time. As awful as the Galaxy S6 was,
Well, what
there were a ton of really cool themes on it, like a pixel art theme that I used a lot.
That's what I liked about it, is that you can just change those horrible Samsung icons to like Google's icons. That was my favorite part.
Right, right. Um, but I never really hated TouchWiz as much as everybody else. I guess the perf-
I hated it. I don't like Samsung software today.
right, the performance isn't good. Obviously, performance really
Right.
sucks. But I don't know. Like
Right.
I kind of like the look. I like it less now that Samsung has kind of moved into, um, like the newer stuff. It kind of has that Chinese flair to it. Lots of
Yeah.
white pastel colors, small text.
Right.
I don't love that as much, but like the Apple knockoff days, I was on board with those.
Right. Well, I like I forget what it's called, but they do have there's a third party theme that they have that's popular, and it's kind of like got a night and a day version of stock Android. And
Right.
whenever I get a Galaxy, I immediately default to that,
Yeah.
and I get kind of like Google's icons and a better theme, and then I'm happy with my Samsung.
Right. And I don't hate the stock Android themes. Usually, though, if I'm going to go all out and customize stuff, I want it to look like mine. Um, I
Yeah,
really
totally.
like the minimalist icon packs. I've played around with a lot of those. I know Kent has too. We've talked about that a lot. And like I said, the Galaxy S6 had like a pixel art theme where it made all your icons look 8-bit, which
Right.
I thought that was super cool.
Yeah.
But then you download like your local bank or whatever, or some obscure app that only has 10,000 downloads and there's no icon for it, and now it's just sticking out.
That's always been my problem. You get these really cool icon packs, but then it mixes in with these others that don't
It's not
convert,
uniform.
and it looks terrible.
Yep, I kind of think that's why Google doesn't like natively support it, because it's not consistent.
Right.
But I do remember there used to be this really really cool. It was kind of like a home screen launcher replacement, but not really. It was called Power Strip. It was like the original Motorola Droid days, um, and that was back when you had 4 buttons. Remember the back, home, menu, and search.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, really old. But you would long press the search button, and then like a little overlay would show up on top of whatever else you were doing with just widgets, and you could scroll through it, and they called it Power Strip because it was just a strip of widgets. So you could do that and have like your music player widget on top of your browser, or a Facebook widget on top of your text messages, whatever. Which that was really really cool.
At the time, that's the first I've heard of it, but that's very cool, especially for like back in like the Motorola Droid days.
Right. Yeah. It was huge on multitasking. I don't think the performance was very good. I mean, obviously, all the phones back then had like half a gigabyte of RAM, so
Right.
that
Right.
wasn't going to fly. But yeah,
It
no.
sounds like what Apple's doing with widgets. Is that about what it was? Sort of their own little page of widgets, as opposed to being able to put it on the home screen.
Kind of, but you could call those widgets up over anything. Where Apple, on the other hand, is basically just built into the like notifications. So you
Oh,
swipe down, look at your notifications, and then you swipe over a page, and then there's your thing of widgets.
gotcha.
Now, OnePlus actually has something like that in their launcher. They call it the shelf. Basically, instead of the Google feed, like what you'd see in a Pixel launcher, you swipe over and it's just widgets.
That's cool.
Yeah, I kind of like it. It makes me realize I don't use as many widgets as I think I do.
Right, right.
Um, Going all the way back, though, I do like Microsoft's launcher. Um, I'm really invested in Microsoft's ecosystem. I like Windows 10. I feel like I'm in the minority there.
I used to be all Windows 10, and if you can make a Chromebook work for yourself, if you can actually make it work, and you can do just about everything on it, it's hard to go back.
Yeah, and I mean, I like Chrome. I try to do as much as I can in it, but I mean, even like this, recording this podcast, OBS is going to eat up, I don't know how much RAM, it's going to chew up lots of processing power. I've got
Right.
like 3 Chrome tabs open behind this, trying to manage everything else. I couldn't make a Chromebook work.
See, I'm on the other end. I don't have the responsibility you have on this end, and I'm literally using a Samsung Chromebook right now.
Right.
Great. It's great. It's working, and I've had no issues. So.
Yeah, and that's where they're great. For like 90% of people, light usage, check your email, fantastic.
Right.
Everything else,
Yeah, I mean, it's not a full-fledged computer, and if like you can use Photoshop like elements, but you can't like use full-fledged Photoshop,
right.
and there's a lot of like I've got full Microsoft Office and a lot of Adobe stuff. A lot of it's kind of in the cloud. I'm surprised at how well I'm making it work.
Like my question, since you do have a Chromebook, what does that do that you can't get a tablet to do?
Like a Google tablet, like a Samsung, like
Really, yeah, just any because that to me that's always kind of put me off from a Chromebook. Is it just seems like it's a tablet with a keyboard.
well, it basically is a tablet with a keyboard, but it works better. It's got more of a I don't know. It feels more like an OS, even though I guess technically it's not. It just feels more like you're using a laptop, but with the simplicity of I guess like a phone. It's almost like a giant Galaxy Note 8.
Right.
But it's great. It comes with a pen. Like there was a document I got yesterday actually that I had to sign for, and you can just pull the pen out, sign it right there, and then shoot the email right back. Little stuff like that is just very cool.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's just always seemed like for me, if I was going to do that, I would just buy like a nice Galaxy Tab or something, or even an iPad or a Surface. And,
Right.
It's especially now that Google's pushing like the Android apps on the Chromebooks. I don't really know where the Chromebook fits in their ecosystem, or like, I mean, I know who it's targeted for, but does that make sense? Like, how's the future look for that? It's
Right.
a weird product.
Yeah, I'm in the minority. I don't know anyone that can do it like I'm doing it. Like they all would need either a Windows or a Mac. I mean,
Right.
but
But
it
even,
does have the full App Store. I mean, anything you can get on your phone, you can pretty much get on here, which is really cool.
right, but that's kind of what I mean for the lighter usage is just why not do it on the phone?
The bigger screen, I guess.
Yeah.
You can just sort of sit at your desk and you can kind of have a laptop experience and your phone experience kind of all in one little wrapped up package.
Yeah. Just, it's weird. I like it. Google should keep making them because we need more competition in that kind of space. But man, I don't get it.
I think if they could flesh it out so it's got a little bit more of a true OS element to it.
Right. Especially with like the Pixel book where they're trying to kind of leverage that as a creativity tool.
Right. Well, the Pixel book, I've got the Samsung and the Pixel book are basically exactly the same. The specs are a little bit better on the Pixel book, but the overall experience is basically the same.
Right.
And you're spending twice as much on the Pixel book.
Yeah.
It's neat, but it's a bit overpriced.
So speaking of having a Samsung Chromebook, have you seen the Galaxy Note 9 rumors?
I've seen some of the rumors. Yes.
Yeah. So earlier today we had a leak popped up of the. Of course, I guess this is a Tuesday, so you guys will not be listening to this on the same day. But basically this week, Galaxy Note 9 press render showed up. Showed the device in blue with a yellow S Pen. I think that is the slickest looking color combination that Samsung has ever done. I'm gonna go ahead and throw that one out there. Are you looking it up right now?
I am. I'm trying to find the picture to refresh my memory.
It should still be on our homepage, just a few articles down because it was just a few hours ago.
All right,
It looks great though, but big but. There's a fingerprint scanner on the back, and you know what that means.
No in-display fingerprint sensor?
It would. I'm not wrong, right? Like it would be weird for them to put a fingerprint scanner on the back and under the screen.
I think that'd be ridiculous. Yeah,
that wouldn't make a lot of sense.
I think the tech is there. I just don't think that anyone is able to mass produce them.
Yeah,
into millions.
That's what I always bring up. Is it's one thing for Vivo, to make 50,000 of these, but for Samsung to make like, hey, no, I need 9 million. That's a tall order.
It's Qualcomm is making it for like next year. Is that my understanding?
The fingerprint scanner?
The in-display fingerprint scanner. I feel like I heard that Qualcomm is making it.
There may be like biometric support for it in newer Snapdragon processors, but I don't think Qualcomm actually makes any of that stuff.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I don't.
I feel like it's different from who's making it right now? What's the company name again for like Vivo? Whoever's making them right now, I don't think that's who Samsung is going with. That's the extent of my memory right now, but I think it's a different company they're going with.
Yeah,
and I want to say I don't know why Qualcomm is sticking out. That's who I feel like I heard.
All those component manufacturers, they kind of run together. So honestly, I'm not sure. Have you actually had a chance to use one of the in-display fingerprint scanners yet? I'm assuming not.
I have not, but I've seen a lot of video and it looks really cool. Like a hair slower than the regular, but it looks really cool.
I think the speed. That's what I was going to bring up. I think that's going to slow Samsung up on it. Just not wanting to. Like I feel like that's not a big enough selling point. Like you put that in the Galaxy Note 9 or the Galaxy S10 or whatever, and hey, there's a fingerprint scanner under our screen. Is that really something that their marketing department can put in a commercial and like make people want it?
Well, I think there's been enough complaints about, how they fumbled that fingerprint scanner last year, their placement. And I think, if you're talking a fraction of a second or even a half a second difference and the cool factor of it being under the screen, I don't know. I think they can make it work.
Timing's weird. Apple has, Face ID with the iPhone 10. OnePlus has been doing a lot of facial recognition stuff. Samsung has their own iris scanning and face unlock thing.
And they'll still have that. So you'll have that option. If you don't, if you feel like it's too slow or you don't want to use that, you'll still have Samsung's, second to Apple facial recognition.
Right, but do you think that maybe the facial recognition stuff is poised to just replace using your finger completely?
I think maybe. I hope not. I would prefer to see a perfected in-display fingerprint scanner much more than facial recognition. I like having both, but I'd hate to see the fingerprint scanner go away completely.
Right. It's just one of those things when Apple does it, man. Everybody. It may take them a year or so, but they're gonna follow.
They do. I've got a notch on my phone now, and it's not really good.
But the good news for you is the Galaxy Note 9, at least according to these leaks, is not going to have a notch.
Right. Well, I like that Samsung is sticking to their design language, and I wish more. In HTC, they're sticking to their design language. I wish more would do that.
I think you'd have a hard time notching out that curved display. That would be tough.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I know Samsung is probably already using some pretty cutting-edge manufacturing processes just to have a curved screen around the bezels of their phone.
I didn't even think of that. That's a good point.
Yeah. But
going back to the color real quick, I'm looking at the picture. So you like this blue combination?
Oh, that blue and yellow, it looks fantastic, man.
See, I like HTC's the U12 Plus with that transparent blue.
Oh, now I've seen the. It's like the one where depending on how you look at it, the color kind of shifts.
No, no, the one where you can actually see, it's like translucent, so you can actually see some of the insides of the
Gotcha.
phone.
Yep, I think I do know what you're talking about. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's cool.
I that's been a thing with like video game consoles and accessories and stuff. I feel like that's
Yeah,
always been kind of popular, like clear PlayStation controllers and those old translucent Game Boys.
right.
It just, I don't know, it never really did it for me.
We know what they need to do. They need to do like they need to follow the watch industry, like where you have these, clear display backs and they sort of decorate the movement on watches. They need to just somehow dress up the inside of a phone, the back of a phone, so the entire plate can just be clear glass and you just get this cool electronic, you know, cool looking
That's the thing with
back.
phones though, man. It's a logic board slapped in the top and a battery at the bottom.
Right.
There's no.
Yeah. I mean, if there's something they can do, I don't know. But you see some of these videos where these guys they take apart their phone, they scrape off the whatever's on the back of on the inside of the glass, so it's completely clear, and they put it back, and it looks the potential is there if someone could figure it out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, it's cool. I think I prefer I like cool, weird colors. Like
Right.
The V10 had that baby blue design.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
great. Um, I wish we had more red phones, like Apple's iPhones, when they make those red editions. I think those look fantastic.
The OnePlus 6 Red is cool too. I like that.
Yep, that one looks great. Samsung's old Galaxy Tab 2 for Valentine's Day, they had a red one. I bought that just because I liked the red. That
Well,
tablet
HTC,
sucked.
yeah, HTC's U11 where it sort of became red and gold. That was the best red I've ever seen.
Yeah. And like what I was talking about, Huawei does that weird like color shifting thing on their phones where it's blue sometimes, purple if you hold it a different way.
Right.
I
Right.
really, really like those finishes too.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
One thing about this Note 9, though, is there's still a dual camera system. So, one thing that's been rumored a lot with the Galaxy S10 is three configurations with different camera setups on each one. So, you've got your entry level model that has one camera, you've got your middle level with, I think, the same size screen, but it has two cameras on the back. And then the bigger screen model has three cameras on the back.
That's for the S10.
Yes, that's what the rumors right now say.
I'm curious. You're talking about Apple. Isn't Apple rumored to have three phones coming out this year? Are they following that trend?
Yeah, I think I actually saw something about it earlier today. There's like a 5.8 inch, 6.1 inch, and a 6.4 inch.
Right.
And that's with the notch. So obviously those screens are usability is a little bit smaller.
Right.
I think with Apple, it's convoluted for Apple definitely. But if you consider one of those phones the SE, it actually kind of simplifies their current lineup. Because
Are they going to pitch it that way there? Because the SE was always just such a different animal, just such a smaller, almost like a throwback to people that wanted that really small, the older experience. I mean, are they going to pitch their low end as like the SE kind of phone?
maybe it's Apple. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
But that's the I think it was a 5.8 inch. I guess that's not really SE sized though.
Yeah. I mean, SE, that was what, 4 inches? I mean, that's
Yeah,
going way
but
back.
still with massive bezels though.
Yeah. Well, it
So
was like the five. I think it was like the same model as the five, if I
it
remember.
is. Yep.
Yeah.
But right now, Apple technically still sells the SE. They have the 8, the 8 Plus, and the 10. So that's four models.
Right.
And especially with the 8 and the 10s, there's a lot of overlap. So how I assumed they were going to do it, and again, I could be wrong. It's Apple. It's really hard to pin that down. But trim that lineup down to just three phones. All three have notches. And then one's the SE model, one's the regular model, like an iPhone 9 or whatever. And then the bigger model would be the 10 Plus, maybe.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Just basically bringing every model into the iPhone 10 design language.
Right. But then I feel like Samsung doesn't quite have that luxury, because even now the Galaxy S9 Plus, or if you want to go back a year, make it a little more accurate, the Galaxy S8 Plus and the Galaxy Note 8 are basically the same phone.
Yeah, just take the pen away.
Right. There's really not different. So I think next year, if they're gonna do 3 Galaxy S10 models and do a Galaxy Note that's the same size, like man, that's
Well,
crowded.
are they gonna do away with the Plus altogether and just have 3 Galaxy S10 models, or is one of those 3 going to be bigger? I mean, I
Yep,
guess
one of
that's
them's the two smaller ones are supposed to be the same size as the Galaxy S9 right now, and the bigger one with triple cameras is supposed to be like plus sized.
oh, got it. So they're just doing it all at once, I guess,
Right, and
and
then
then they'll have the Note way
yeah,
down. Yeah.
but you'll still have that extra entry level model with only one camera, and that's a weird lineup, I think.
It's kind of like the iPhone 8, and then the iPhone 8 Plus, and then the iPhone 10, sort of.
Yeah, similar with the. Although the iPhone, yeah, I guess because the 10 has a bigger screen than the Plus.
Right. Yeah, I'm
Still,
curious. I'm curious if that was, their thinking when they were coming up with this.
it's hard to tell.
You never know.
It's got me confused at least. But I think the biggest thing they're trying to differentiate and sell it with is those cameras.
Yeah.
So if those rumors ended up being true and all those 3 phones came out next week, knowing that the pricing is going to be more expensive the bigger up you get, which one of those would you buy?
So you're talking 1, 2, and 3 cameras?
Yep, with the same size screen on the bottom 2, but the 3 cameras having a bigger screen.
I'd probably go with the 3 cameras just to get because then you're getting the bigger screen and you're getting the better cameras. It seems like you're getting so much more. You might as well just go for the bigger one.
And you think that's going to be worth the $1,000 they're going to ask for it?
The reason I say yes is because most people are just going to go through their carrier, so it's a matter of a $10 a month difference. So yeah, probably.
Right. That's a good way to look at it. I think without the carrier subsidies or
Without the carrier
financing,
subsidy, yeah, that's a different animal altogether.
that's where I think I would I'd go for the entry level one. If Samsung is going to release a $500 or $600 phone with just a single camera, but is ultimately the same as the other 2 guys, man, I'd get the cheaper one.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, if you're buying it like unlocked, I agree. Because how much better, other than camera, how much better are the other 2 going to be, for day-to-day usage?
Right. And that's kind of what I've been thinking is I think Samsung is playing kind of a dangerous game there, trying to keep the selling price of their devices up, but also continue introducing new models, doing stuff to stay competitive with more Apple models. I don't know. I don't feel like they're doing it the right way.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I guess we'll have to see how it plays out. They're price wise though. I was pretty impressed with what the S9. The unlocked was like 709, I think is what
I
it
think it was
came out at.
719. Yep.
Yeah, which I was surprised. I thought it'd be more in the 799 range. So, and you can pick up a Galaxy S8 right now. I think for like 499.
Yeah,
think,
yeah. The older models get cheap really fast.
so they get cheap really fast. So I don't think I think if they're going to come out with 3 models, that budget one is I wouldn't be surprised if it was in like the 549 range, which I think would be great.
Yeah, I missed the days of the easy like 649. And that's just what your phone costed.
Right.
And now it's like the iPhone 8 699, the Galaxy S9 is 720. The OnePlus is like 549. HTC charges like $899 for theirs because they don't know how to price anything.
Yeah. Well, HTC is just I don't know what's going through their head.
I think they had some article not too long ago. Yeah, HTC wants $799 for the HTC U12 Plus.
Which is crazy.
That's for the
I mean, it's a
six.
good phone. It's a good phone. I'm not going to knock the phone. It's a good phone. It's got all the specs you want for 2018, but it doesn't have the brand power to charge that kind of price.
I
And it's
mean,
not subsidized. You got to pay that full price. So, who's going to do that over, an S9 or an S9 Plus? I just don't see it.
yep. And man, that
And that
is
you could walk into a carrier and buy it for what, $25 a month.
right. Yeah, they had that article the other day that I think Samsung, or not Samsung, but HTC, they're like they had their lowest second quarter ever. They're making like no money right now.
Wow.
But it's
All right.
I mean it's this. Who would pay $800 for a
Yeah,
phone that is
they just keep putting. And plus, those like those capacitive. I don't know, those non-button buttons they have on the side are getting a lot of criticism.
yeah, I really want to put my hands on one and feel
I
it.
know. I want to try it. I know.
But yeah, no, I've heard just terrible things about it.
I like the I like the idea. I like the concept. If you can just sort of tap it and it would work, but apparently it's like you have to push hard sometimes, and then sometimes you don't, and it's just not consistent.
Does that have the like any kind of fancy vibration engine in it?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't, if like some kind of haptic feedback when you touch it.
Right.
I have no idea.
Because that's what's cool about the iPhones is that home button now is not really a home button. But man, it feels good.
It does. It feels like you're clicking. It really does.
And even like going and setting an alarm or something on iOS. If you guys know anybody with an iPhone, like an iPhone 7 or newer, just borrow it from them and set an alarm and just feel that wheel like scrolling and clicking. It's nuts. Doesn't
Yeah,
the G7? I think LG was working on that, or was that Sony? Does your
yeah.
G7 have anything like that in it?
I have not gotten any kind of feedback setting an alarm. That's for sure. It's got its little vibration motor, but nothing to write home about.
Oh, so it's just regular old Android
Just regular old
vibration.
Android. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody was working on a really cool vibration engine, and it might have been Sony. I'm trying to look that up. Basically to mirror what Apple's doing with the iPhones. And I think
Yeah.
that probably would have helped HTC give it like a really cool haptic kind of feedback for those buttons.
Right. Right.
But you know how that goes. Hey, Kent, edit out this silence while I'm Googling.
I could start singing if you want.
No, that's okay. We probably shouldn't put them through that.
Yeah, it would. We'd end it right now.
Right. Oh man, let me see. I really want to know.
I know what you're talking about. I've heard that. Can't remember for the life of me who's doing it.
It's TouchSense. There's an article from 2017. TouchSense will bring iPhone-esque haptic feedback to the LG V30.
Okay. Maybe it's going to be their V series that gets it.
But wouldn't that be? I mean,
You would think so. Maybe
while we're just slamming all the Android manufacturers, let's throw LG in here. The V30 and the V35 and the V30s and the G7s, as bad as HTC is, come on LG, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the HD TouchSense on the V30 has more than 3 basic levels of vibration, blah, 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 a lot of fancy stuff supposed to work in the software. How about like when you take a picture on that G7, does the like clicking the shutter have a better feel to it?
Well, I turn off. See, my problem is I turn off a lot of vibration features. I just
Oh.
personally don't like it, so I'm just getting an audible click. But let me turn it on and see what happens.
Because that, and even on the iPhone, that's another area where you take a picture and man, it feels like a shutter button.
Yeah, yeah. See vibration.
So we're gonna see if the
All right, I've got 3 options here. I got vibration strength. I've got vibration type.
is that in the camera or is that just in the settings?
That's right now. This is just in the settings, and I have vibration on tap, which I'm going to turn on.
Yeah, that's going to be the big one because it's really like the interface stuff. Like I was talking about setting an alarm on an iPhone, scrolling a wheel, it feels like you're setting a stopwatch or something.
Right, right. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It really, it's almost like a realistic haptic feedback click on your finger.
Right. LG not doing that though.
Yeah, so far I'm getting nothing. Let's see. I'm in the camera settings now.
So if you guys have any comments about which phones you've had that have had just great vibration motors or haptic feedback or whatever, like let us know because I think that's one of those small levels of polish that I think gets ignored a lot. You know, it's not a big selling point. You can't slap it on a billboard everywhere, but it makes the phone more fun to use.
I agree. It just adds that little bit of experience to the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the thing that I actually want Samsung to rip off from Apple. Like, don't rip off face emojis. Don't do that. Rip
Well,
off.
they already sort of did, didn't they?
I
They have their
know
own
they did the AR emojis. I know, but don't Samsung stop doing that and copy the cool features that people actually want, not creepy emojis.
I agree.
Not what
Yeah, I don't know.
Samsung's.
I can't get my LG G7 to do anything fun haptic feedback wise. So
LG, your phone's not fun. If anybody from LG is listening to this, you need to make your phones more fun.
they need to be more fun and lose the notch while you're at it.
Right. So, turning that notch off, that didn't not enough for you. Like it's still.
I liked it. Here's the problem. It was great. I actually really liked it because they did a good job, even though there's still screen above it. It blended in. It's not AMOLED, but it still blended in well enough that I didn't notice it. But the problem is, I discussed this with you earlier, is that the corners on the top don't perfectly match the corners on the bottom. And once you see it, you just can't, it drives me crazy. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So then I just turned it off and put it back on the notch.
So to catch everyone up, I don't think notches are that bad. I think they're it's just an easy way to get more screen space and let you, get your notifications out of the way so you can use the full screen. Erik absolutely hates them. They're literally the worst thing ever, according to Erik.
It's not that in a bubble, it's okay. It's just that it's such an obvious design 180 to copy the iPhone 10. So it's the principle of the thing more than the actual execution of it.
I don't think you're wrong. I mean, I think there's definitely some Apple influence, but I mean, there always is. It's
Right.
Apple's number one with smartphone stuff, so it's hard to not see their influence in a lot of other things. And I'm sure people are gonna just completely hate me for that comment. But like when Ford, makes a car, just because other companies stop selling horse-drawn carriages and move to a car, well, maybe that's because cars are better. And that's kind of how I feel about the notch. Is like I think that's just going to be the next step in how we design phones, because it does basically allow you to have an entirely just all screen on the front of your device. You don't have to save room. Like, oh, I can't put anything up there because the cameras are in the middle and they're in the way. I feel like the notch lets you use a little bit more of the phone, so I don't really have a problem with it.
No, that's fair. I mean, it's a fair argument. I see both sides of it. I just I still like kind of the Samsung's approach and the LG V30. I like, which is basically a ripoff of Samsung, but I like the slim top and bottom bezels right now, at least more than the notch. I just feel like it's more of a signature Android look as opposed to just kind of making everything look like the iPhone 10.
Right. The only thing that I don't love about the notches is it doesn't do anything. It is literally just the status bar.
That I think, hide the notch, have the extra screen up there, hide the notch, and then just have status bar info up there so you're not taking up the rest of the screen with it. If you're going to have a notch, that's, in my opinion, the best way to do it.
Well, I mean, they give you the option. The OnePlus does. You've said the G7 does. I think the Essential phone does. I mean, you can
Right.
basically already do that.
Just make the corners uniform.
Yeah, I'm looking at that on mine. I don't really see what you're talking about. I mean, like I can tell there's a screen there and it's not actual device.
Well, the arc of the corner on the top doesn't match the corners on the bottom. It's a different.
Right, because it's more rounded at the top of the screen than it would
Right.
be at the top of like the usable display.
And if you have OCD like I do, when you see that, then you just can't do it.
I have to like hold my phone at an angle and look at it in the light to even notice that. So I don't think that doesn't necessarily bother me. But like the iPhone, on the 10, Apple functionally redesigned their interface to use that notch. There's no more home button, so it's swiping up from the bottom, but that eats into their control center shortcut. So now pulling down from the top right gets you your control center, pulling down from the top left gets you your notifications. Love or hate the notch, Apple at least did something with it. It makes
Yeah,
more
well,
sense.
Apple had a purpose. I mean, the notch has a purpose, and they work their entire phone and the entire software. They upgrade the software around it. Whereas Android has a notch, but it's just because they have a notch. There's nothing optimized for it. It's just there.
Right. It's to give you more screen space, which that's functional. But
Well, here's my complaint. Apple was able to somehow, you've got like that ribbon that comes off the bottom of a screen, and they actually bent the screen itself around the bottom, and it actually kicks into the back of the phone, and that's how they were able to bring the screen all the way to the bottom.
right.
Whereas Android, they still have that bezel at the bottom because they have to account for that ribbon coming off the screen. It's got to go somewhere.
Right.
So one of the reasons I like the notch better on Apple is because, like you said, it truly is an all-screen device, and then you have the notch. Where on Android, you've got the notch, and it's great up top, but then you still have that bottom bezel, so it's like you're not even really getting the full screen experience.
Of course, the only company that's going to be able to manufacture that is Samsung.
Right.
Nobody else is big enough to match Apple's crazy supply chain wizardry like that.
Exactly.
I don't know though. Maybe we'll see some more leaks, and the Galaxy S10 will have a notch, and then we can have an entire podcast episode just arguing about it.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll have to make that an event.
What company made the notch on the top and bottom? Isn't there one out there it's like some obscure Chinese brand or something? They got a notch on the top and bottom.
I think I remember seeing a patent for that. I have a Xiaomi. What even is this? It's like a Mi Mix 2, maybe? It has no notch. It is all full screen. It's dead, or I would turn it on to show you right now. But they actually got around everything by putting the camera at the bottom. Or I guess it's not. It still has like a chin bezel, but they basically eliminated the bezel at the top without a notch, and that's just because they put the camera in a super uncomfortable place.
Yeah, I like what Essential did better. I like the little notch because at least it's a unique small notch that no one else has.
I just think Essential's phone looks stupid. It looks goofy to me.
Really, I think it's actually one of the better looking phones of 2017. I think they did a good job. It's a shame that they're not making the second one.
Well, that one's Andy Rubin's fault, but to me though, it looks like they designed a phone with a big screen on it, and they were like, "Wait, we have to have a camera somewhere." So just boop, camera right in the middle. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it. I like how they literally just cut it right around the camera, and that's it. They didn't have anything wide, and the speaker is actually a little slit above it, so you don't have to worry about the speaker.
Yeah, no. From a design standpoint, like a technical design standpoint, it's cool. From someone just looking at the phone, though, man, it literally looks like they stuck a camera in the middle of the screen to me.
Right. I don't know. It never bothered me. That notch never bothered me. I think Essential hit a home run with their first effort.
Yeah. Well, first and only, probably.
From a design standpoint, let's put it that way. The software and everything else was a disaster. From a design standpoint, I think they did a very good job.
But for Prime Day / Prime Week, it's only like $250. So if that phone is still on sale by the time this podcast releases, you guys should go buy a little piece of history.
I agree.
All right, but we've been talking for a while, so I think we're gonna end this podcast here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe at talkandroid.com or no, youtube.com/talkandroid. I would say Kent should fix this. Kent's not going to fix that. Kent's just going to let me look stupid. Same thing for all other social media, twitter.com/talkandroid, facebook.com/talkandroid. We're on Instagram. We just never use it. Google Plus, all that stuff. If you guys have any opinions on notches or vibration motors in your phone, drop a comment. We want to know. And I think we are going to head out.